Alright, David Harry here. So in this video, what I'm going to do is to show you how you can grade the Apple log footage that you have shot on your iPhone 15 and basically turn it back into a normal color within DaVinci Resolve Studio. Now, the thing is here, this technically isn't grading. What I'm going to be doing here is show you how to do an automatic color transformation. However, if I were to have used that as the type of title, like how to do an automatic color or gamma transformation from Apple log to standard Rec.709 2.4, it is not a very snappy title, and it is unlikely that would be the kind of thing that people would be typing in for a search. However, what I'm going to show you here is probably what most people need to know before they actually do start applying, say, specific color grading or looks to their video. Anyway, what I will do is dive into this tutorial right now, and then I will come back at the end and I will do a bit of a summary. Okay, so getting into this then, and here I've got a very simple DaVinci Resolve Studio project. Now, I'm going to be using two main clips here, which were both recorded with the Blackmagic camera app. However, I have a third clip here, which I won't be concentrating on, but what it is, this clip is done with the Apple app as well. So this will just show you that the same thing works for the Apple recordings as well through their own app. Anywho, what I will do first of all is to show you the attributes of the clips. So this first clip here, if I come up to the file inspector, as we will see, this is Apple ProRes 422HQ. Now, the frame rate and the resolution don't really kind of mean anything here. This is just what I've chosen. Now, if I come to the second clip, as we can see here, this is H.265 main 42210. Now this is going to give us, like, you know, level 5 and stuff. However, the main thing that we should concentrate on here is that this is 422 and 10-bit. So H.265 422 10-bit. Once again, frame rate and resolution are basically irrelevant. It's just basically going to be whatever you choose to use. Now, if I come to the third clip here, this is one that was done with the Apple app itself, or the Apple camera app. And as we can see here, this also registers Apple ProRes 422HQ. And then if I compare that to the first clip, which is the one done in the Blackmagic camera app, it's exactly the same as far as the attributes are concerned. Now, the main thing is here though, as we can see, this picture here is very washed out. Now, this is obviously going to be what log looks like until you've processed it, or until you've corrected it with inside a timeline which has got the output for whatever particular color space it is that you want it to go to. So in this instance, obviously, I'm going to be working in SDR standard Rec.709 2.4 gamma. And this is exactly how it looks, all washed out and stuff. Now, let me just give you a quick example of what's going on in the frames here. So I'm just going to play these first two clips and let you have a listen to see what's going on here. This is an example of the Apple log format being shot with the Blackmagic camera app. Now, when I play this in a normal timeline, this is just going to look all washed out. However, when I switch over to one of the color managed options using all the correct settings for the input and the output, this file will be automatically transformed to look like something normal for our standard Rec.709 2.4 gamma. This is an example of the Apple log format being used with H.265 with inside the Blackmagic camera app. Now, the point of this example is to show you that the actual color profile is actually Apple log. It is not ProRes log. If it were ProRes log, then it would be mutually exclusive to be only usable within ProRes recordings. However, this one's H.265, which proves that it is not mutually exclusive to ProRes. Okay, so as we could see and hear there, I was basically explaining what was going on. And so this is exactly what we would see when we work unprocessed, as it were. However, I did have a little bit of a problem there when I went full screen, because the playback didn't actually go full screen. Just give me a moment to see if I can correct that. Okay, so I've just restarted DaVinci Resolve here, so let me just see what happens when I go full screen. Okay, there we are. We are now proper full screen for the preview. For anybody out there who uses Resolve Studio, this might just be a little bit of a tip for you. On certain Apple devices, and I'm using a MacBook Pro M1 Max, if that puts the screen to sleep, or if the actual computer goes to sleep momentarily or anything like that, what happens is that when you wake up either the screens or the actual computer itself, what will happen is that Resolve's geometry will go all a bit weird. So that's what happened just before when I went full screen. The full screen playback wasn't there properly. So what I've just had to do is exit Resolve and restart the project. And as we can see, the actual full screen has come back for the preview. Nothing to do really with this video, however, that could be a good tip for other people out there who may get that problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do now then is to switch over my project settings, and what we're going to see is this log profile gamma be completely transformed to something a little bit more recognizable. So what I'm going to do here is come down to the settings. I will go to color management. Now in here we can see that I'm just working normally with DaVinci YRGB, and I'm using obviously Rec.709 Gamma 2.4, and that's basically because this is the format that I usually work to with the types of video that I shoot. So what I'm going to do now is change the color management settings so that we can get our automatic transform on the go here, and honestly this is just so simple, it's unbelievable. So what I'm going to do here is go to where it says color science, and then I will click on DaVinci YRGB Color Managed. Now what I'm going to do here is to leave automatic color management switched on. Now in my instance, I'm using SDR, which is standard dynamic range, for my target, and also as far as I'm concerned, maybe the phone can only really record enough information feasibly for SDR. Now I'm not arguing whether or not you can use HDR with it. However, from what I understand about the phone, I'm not entirely sure whether the information that it's collecting is really going to be good enough for doing HDR. That's for other people to test. It's not something that I'm particularly into, but nonetheless, SDR, because I'm working standard dynamic range, and of course my output is going to be SDR Rec.709. So if you're just doing normal standard dynamic range stuff, say for the likes of YouTube and stuff, these are the settings that you would want to use. You can, however, go in, you can tick off automatic color management, and you can start selecting all kinds of stuff as far as like your source for processing is concerned, and then you can even start using, like, you know, separate color space and gamma as far as your destinations are concerned. You know, that's up to other people to test to make sure that it works better for their particular workflows. However, like I say, from my point of view, I just want to keep this simple. So it's just going to be SDR for the color processing mode and SDR Rec.709 for the output color space. Now watch here, just as I confirm and change to yes, we will see that picture suddenly go like, you know, more normal, shall we say. So let me just hit save, and boom, look at that straight away. That picture just kind of magically, well, not magically, obviously there's science involved here. It's not like, you know, like fairies and goblins and stuff, but what it is, that just comes looking out really, really good. So if I just kind of give you a quick look across the three files here, that file looks great now. So does that file, and even the Apple file itself. Now just quickly, because I don't want to concentrate on this in this video, but what we will notice is, see the color tone in the Apple recording here is not, well, I was going to say it's not as good, it's just not to my preference compared to the color tone that I'm getting out of the Blackmagic camera app. So that's the only reason why I'm not going to concentrate on the Apple recording here. However, as you've seen, oh, that's a very unflattering still, isn't it? What's this one like? That's a bit better, right? What it is, I'm just showing you this because it'll just show you that yes, you can use the files that you record log with the standard Apple camera app. Anyway, I'll get rid of that one there because, like I say, it's not really my preference for the color and stuff. Now, as we can see here though, you know, Resolve has basically pulled that log gamma right back into a traditional space for Rec.709 Gamma 2.4. Now, immediately, depending upon how you have exposed your footage in the first place, what you see here may just be exactly all that you need. Now, from this point, this is where you could go grading if you wanted to, because like I've already said, this technically at this point is not grading. All we're doing here is basically transforming gamma, and this is the result that I'm happy with. Although actually, wait there, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try something in a second, but just remember, I've already made it clear from the outset that I am not a color person or a grader, because as far as I'm concerned, anyone who is a proper colorist or grader is way more experienced than someone like me and the vast majority of people on YouTube. Without getting on me high horse, I think it kind of cheapens the whole thing to do with grading and coloring, when just random people on YouTube kind of like, you know, profess to being colorists and graders when it quite clearly isn't their day job. Anyways, I'll get off me high horse with that one, and I'll probably mention it at the end again. But what I'm going to do here is just something really quickly to these two files. So as we can see here, the files have already been brought back into like a better looking color space, or a more traditional looking color space. However, there is something that I can do really quickly here to these files, just so that I can toughen up the picture a bit more, make it a bit more maybe contrasty and stuff. And once again, this is not color grading. This is just me attempting to get the picture looking a little bit more in a certain way that I would probably prefer. So what I'm going to do here is use an adjustment layer across the two clips. And this is maybe another tip for people. If you're using multiple clips in a timeline which were essentially taken from the same scene or the same exposure or at the same time and stuff like that, you don't necessarily have to go in and individually edit each one as far as, say, you know, color settings are concerned. You could indeed just use a simple adjustment layer across all of the clips which were from the same scene or the same exposure and stuff. So if you give me a moment, what I'm going to do over here is find where the adjustment layer thing is. Give us a sec. Okay, so I've managed to find adjustment clip. So what I'm going to do is pull the adjustment clip down here. Now what it is, this thing here isn't actually like real media. If you can think of this as like a placeholder where we can put, say, commands into which affect anything below it. So anything we do to this adjustment clip will affect whatever is underneath it here. So if I then stretch out that adjustment clip here to cover both of those clips now, whatever I do to the adjustment clip is going to affect both of these clips underneath it, or any amount of clips which may be underneath the adjustment layer. So what I'm going to do now is just go onto the color page, make sure I've got the adjustment clip selected, and also what I've got selected here are the standard SDR color wheels option, which means that right next to it here we're going to have a response curve. So what I'm going to do first of all is to just pop in a few points on this response curve here, and then what I'm going to do is just kind of mess around a little bit here until I can toughen up that picture with maybe a little bit more contrast into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is start pulling in from the bottom down here. Now that's changed a little bit, which tells me that I need to come a bit higher to start bringing a bit more contrast to the low end here. So I'm just going to put, oh, there we go. So as we can see, if I just go like this very wildly, it's going to go crazy and solarize and all kinds of weirdness. However, if I just kind of pull it back a little bit, maybe there might do. Suddenly, like, you know, I've got my blue on my top here kind of coming out a bit more. You know, a bit more of the shadows are a bit more crushed maybe into the background, but it kind of gives a little bit more of a pleasing tone as far as I'm concerned. This is all personal taste, by the way, and maybe the greener the grass starts becoming a little bit more greener or grassier. Now you can obviously go right in depth here and start doing selective, like, you know, color processing for various parts of the frame and stuff. However, I'm just trying to do something here which is easy to do, quick, and something that just gives me a little bit of a better output, but as quickly as I can. Now let me just mess around with a couple more of these points in the curve here. pull this back up. Maybe that, like, if we go down there, that's far too much. In fact, when you're doing this stuff, what you're probably best off doing is going quite wild at certain points when you choose your points, just so you can see which part of the picture that it's affecting, because then if I come down here and do the same, it'll look different than if I come up here and do that. So like I say, just kind of pull these points up and down and kind of go a bit wild with them until you can see something in the frame, which is what you're looking for. So right now I'm kind of more bothered about the skin tones and the general kind of contrast here. So I think around here, if I start pulling this back, yeah, that's toughened me up there, but maybe too much. So I'll just ease off a bit more. Okay, let me try this point up here. Might be too high for brightness. Okay. As we can see, the brightness is definitely being affected, which in turn will affect the contrast as well. Let me just pull it down here and try it. Maybe it goes a bit too dull there. Maybe I'll just leave that back there, push it a little bit maybe. Maybe that's too much. Okay, I think that's probably okay for what I want, but it's definitely good enough to show for this particular demonstration. So at this point now, what I'll do is I'll just switch off what I've, switch off and on what I've been doing here. So that's it off. And although that did look way better than the flat log look, by the time I do this to it, that makes it look more punchier. Now, like I say, that might be too much for other people, but this is a personal preference thing, whether it's right or it's wrong. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the timeline here, and as we will see, that adjustment clip will now make that same kind of color adjustment to the two clips underneath it. So if I mute the adjustment clip here, there we go, we go back to what it was, which did look a lot better than the flat look, but then boom, we've kind of toughened it up a bit there, and then boom, we've toughened it up there. So let me just play these two clips through now that we've got the transformation done through the color management, and then also this little extra adjustment on top with the adjustments layer. This is an example of the Apple log format being shot with the Blackmagic camera app. Now when I play this in a normal timeline, this is just going to look all washed out. However, when I switch over to one of the color managed options using all the correct settings for the input and the output, this file will be automatically transformed to look like something normal for our standard Rec.709 2.4 gamma. This is an example of the Apple log format being used with H.265 within inside the Blackmagic camera app. Now the point of this example is to show you that the actual color profile is actually Apple log. It is not ProRes log. If it were ProRes log, then it would be mutually exclusive to be only usable within ProRes recordings. However, this one's H.265, which proves that it is not mutually exclusive to ProRes. Okay, so I think this demonstration here should be good enough for me to show you what the whole point of this video was about. So let me just quickly cut back now to an end summary. Okay, so as far as an end summary is concerned then, what I've shown you here is essentially the most basic starting point for anything like a grade. So if you start off at the point where I've just left off there, that will definitely get you well into the process of doing your coloring or grading or whatever it is you want to call it. However, just that straight color or gamma transform might actually be the only thing that your footage needs. So again, if you just switch all that on and the picture that you see in the timeline looks good, then who's to argue then that that is not the completed thing for you? Okay, so that'll just about do it then as far as this tutorial is concerned. However, I just want to raise a couple of points here about all of this grading and coloring thing that you see on YouTube. What it is, I've been involved in professional audio and video post-production for over 35 years, and as far as video and film are concerned, my position would usually have been head of technical post-production. Now because of that, I do know and understand a lot about audio and video. However, I am not a specialist in any one thing. So when people start talking about things like coloring or doing grading and stuff like that, those people that do that job day in, day out are very specialized people who have got a very high skill set. They are basically technicians, and they are also creatives. Now for someone who does that all day long and that's all they do, and they don't lay claim to being something else an editor or a sound designer or something like that, those people, I think, probably feel quite offended by some of the junk that they see on YouTube where people are going, I'm a colorist or I'm a grader and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I make these things really clear when I do these types of things. I am not a colorist or a grader. However, I do have like the deepest of respect for those people who do it professionally and do it properly, as opposed to some of the junk you see on YouTube. Now, I know I will have just pissed off a whole bunch of people by saying that, but that is the bottom line, simple truth. On YouTube, there's literally a small handful of proper professional graders and colorists who actually do tutorials and do things on YouTube. For everybody else doing it, they are simply people who do not have the correct experience and understanding to be talking about these things, and all they're doing is chancing their hand at trying to get views, and also, my favorite, selling LUT packs. Now, just on the point of these whole LUT pack things and stuff like that, and I'll keep this as short as I can because I will do a video at some point about this in the future. But what it is, LUTs were never designed to be something that people traded with one another and essentially just used them as like color presets. That is not the technical reason why LUTs exist. So when you see these people going like, oh yeah, download my LUT packs, and like, you know, you've only got to pay this amount of money and what you'll get is this at the end, most of that is absolute BS, right? And the reason why is because whatever they've done in order to achieve that particular look that they've gone for will have been very specific to the camera that they've used, and also the exposure of the camera, and just their own personal taste as to what they think the output looks good as being. So that doesn't necessarily mean to say that, as you know, that you use the same LUT that they've used and suddenly it will magically transform your footage into something that looks amazing or even anything like what they've done. And the final thing to say about these LUT pack things is they are usually put out there by people who just don't have a clue about what they're doing properly. And the simple fact is this: anyone can do them. You yourself could just download any kind of LUTs that you want, tinker with them, tamper them to whatever way you want them to look. Then all you've got to do is resave those LUTs and then package them up, give them some kind of really cool name, and then start selling them, because that's effectively all the other people are doing. There is no magic to it whatsoever. Anyways, that should definitely do it for this video, because all I will end up doing here is to attract all of those stupid negative comments which I normally get within the comments section of my videos, something that I just don't care about. I don't give a toss about what people have got to say when they're just talking stupidity. And also, I have got absolutely no problem pissing off fanboys like Apple fanboys and Android fanboys, etc. And I most certainly don't have a problem bringing to light some of the nefarious crap that other YouTubers get up to. So yeah, if people don't like that, then don't watch my videos, pure and simple. However, if you're into content by somebody who speaks their mind and doesn't talk nonsense and doesn't overstate their own knowledge and stuff like that, then most certainly carry on watching my stuff. Now, if anybody out there has found this video useful in any way, please do give it a thumbs up. Unfortunately, I, like every other YouTuber, have to beg for these things. I personally think that thumbs ups and thumbs downs are the stupidest metric in the world for measuring the value of somebody's content. However, this is what YouTube do, and we all have to subscribe to that notion. Also, as well, on the point of subscribing, if you found this video really useful in some way, then definitely subscribe to the channel and stuff, especially if you don't mind the way I go about stuff, because I'll be doing a lot more stuff to do with the iPhone, going back to my iPads, my Macs, and a lot of other technical stuff as well. And as per usual, there will be Amazon links in the video description below to everything used in the video. Anyways, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.